Dawn revealed 14 acres of smashed pumpkins. Charles Reeves stood among the ruins, boots heavy with mud and orange pulp. At his feet, the 2,000-pound prize pumpkin lay shattered, its orange flesh darkening in the morning light.
Charles knelt, touching the cold rind. Amanda's words echoed. Rodent attractor. Vector control.
He reached inside his jacket and withdrew a worn leather folder. Inside, a yellow document headed Exclusive Supply Agreement, State Fair.
Every pumpkin for the fair came from this patch, no exceptions, no substitutes. And there were only 11 days left.
He pulled out his phone. The screen glowed. State Fair opens in 11 days.
He whispered to himself, "Without my pumpkins, there is no fair."
Behind him, tire tracks led to the horizon, where a distant tractor sat cold, its plow caked with pulp.
He clutched the contract tighter. The HOA didn't know what they'd just done.
Somewhere, in the subdivision down the road, Amanda Prentice was likely celebrating her victory. She had no idea she'd just triggered a $40 million crisis. 3 weeks earlier, the HOA board gathered in the Ridgeline Heights clubhouse for their regular meeting.
Amanda held up a photo. "This pumpkin patch is a rodent magnet. Rats are invading our homes under vector control rules. We don't need his permission. We can order immediate clearing."
Robert hesitated. "Maybe we should notify the owner first. Give him a chance to respond."
Amanda scoffed. "We sent multiple warnings. He's ignored everyone. This community deserves action, not excuses."
No records showed any warnings were ever mailed, but Amanda's tone brooked no argument.
"I move. We issue an emergency vector control order. All in favor, raise your hand."
5 hands went up. Roberts was not among them, but the motion carried.
Amanda signed the order with a sharp pen. "That pumpkin patch will be plowed under by morning."
Charles never got a single notice. The order was based on nothing, and before dawn, the tractors rolled. Charles stood on his farmhouse porch, phone pressed to his ear, watching the empty field where his life's work had vanished.
"Margaret, it's Charles. The patch is gone. Every last pumpkin. They plowed it all under this morning."
Gone? Charles, that can't be. The fair opens in 11 days. We have 100,000 visitors counting on us.
Charles explained the vector control order, the board vote, the tractors. Margaret's knuckles whitened on the receiver. She pulled a thick file from her cabinet. The contract was ironclad, 50-year exclusive supply, no substitutions permitted.
I've already called 3 other growers. None can produce the heirloom varieties and quantities we need in 10 days. This is a disaster. I'm calling an emergency board meeting. The entire fair could collapse.
Within hours, the fair board assembled in a cramped conference room. Margaret laid out the facts, her voice unsteady.
Without Charles's pumpkins, there's no centerpiece, no midway decorations, no pie contest. We're looking at a total loss.
The room went silent. A 100-year tradition teetered on the edge of cancellation, and nobody had a solution. The board voted unanimously. The state fair, a 100-year tradition, was postponed indefinitely.
We project that the cancellation will cost this region upwards of $40 million in lost tourism revenue.
This crisis traces back to the Ridgeline Heights HOA and a pumpkin patch destroyed under a vector control order.
Within hours, the story spread from local blogs to statewide television. The HOA was now the target of public rage. Social media exploded with demands for answers. The hashtag Pumpkingate trended alongside photos of the flattened field.
We have confirmed that HOA Secretary Amanda Prentice led the push to plow under the field without ever notifying the grower.
Amanda Prentice, the woman who wanted a prettier view, was now linked to a $40 million economic disaster. The Fair Board issued a terse statement vowing to hold those responsible accountable, but the damage was already done, and the news crawl read simply: State Fair postponed. HOA plowed under exclusive pumpkin supplier. The story was out. Now the question was, what would Charles Reeves do about it? The digital mob descended. Within hours, number pumpkin gauge trended nationwide, and Amanda Prentice's photo was everywhere.
Amanda faced the cameras, chin high. We acted to protect our community. That field was a rat paradise. That farmer ignored multiple warnings. He's a nuisance who let his land become a health hazard.
Charles watched the broadcast from his farmhouse. The contract lay on the table beside him.
She has no idea what she started. No idea what this piece of paper really means.
Back at the HOA, phones rang off the hook. Residents and reporters demanded answers. Robert Langley, the board president, was cornered into issuing a hollow statement.
She shouted into the receiver, "We did nothing wrong. This is all a smear campaign by that pumpkin grower."
Later, as she emerged from the building, a crush of reporters descended. Amanda lashed out, her composure finally cracking.
Linda O'Neill, on camera, reported, "This scene has descended into chaos. Deputy Matterson has been called to maintain order."
From his silent farmhouse, Charles watched Amanda's public meltdown. He didn't smile. He just waited, because he knew something the cameras didn't. The next morning, Margaret Holloway stood before a bank of microphones, her voice heavy.
For the first time in 101 years, the state fair is canceled. The board has voted to file a tortious interference lawsuit against the Ridgeline Heights HOA. The damages we seek will reflect the $40 million this region will lose because of a reckless, unauthorized act.
That afternoon, Charles walked into the dusty office of the State Agricultural Cooperative.
Bill Dawson didn't get up. He just said, "Heard about the lawsuit. Good. But you know that contract of yours? It's held by this co-op, and we've got a little insurance policy. Here, take a look." He slid a survey map across the desk.
Charles unfolded it. Thick red lines marked an easement running right through the HOA's main entrance gate.
The co-op owns that strip. We can shut down access to the entire subdivision if they don't play ball.
Charles stared at the map. The same HOA that plowed under his legacy now depended on his contract for their own front door.
And Bill Dawson watched, knowing the old farmer had just been handed the one weapon that could force the HOA to its knees. The lawsuit moved fast. Within days, the HOA's attorneys filed a motion to dismiss. The judge denied it in a single paragraph. Then the HOA's insurance carrier sent a letter. "This incident may not be covered. Your policy excludes damages arising from intentional acts." The board convened an emergency session. Robert Langley's hands trembled as he gavelled the meeting to order.
This is out of control, Amanda. Residents are talking recall. The insurance company is backing away.
We stand and fight. We followed the rules. This is a witch hunt by that farmer and the media.
But the other board members didn't see a crusade. They saw a $40 million liability and their own homes at risk. One by one, 2 board members slid resignation letters across the table. They wanted no part of the legal fallout.
Amanda's voice cracked. "Fine, cowards. Robert and I will carry this board alone if we have to."
Robert stared at the empty seats. He knew that carrying on meant carrying the weight of a $40 million mistake alone.
The Ridgeline Heights HOA was now a skeleton crew, and Amanda's grip on power was slipping faster than she could scream. In the co-op boardroom, Bill Dawson didn't need long. The vote was unanimous. Revoke the easement until the HOA came to terms.
He called Charles immediately. "It's done. We're pulling the easement unless they sit down and negotiate."
Charles stood in his farmhouse, a weathered photo of his grandfather in his hand. He'd want me to protect the land, not just get even.
That afternoon, the co-op sent a certified letter to the HOA. The subject line read, Easement access termination in 48 hours. Charles drove to the edge of the empty field. The soil was raw and track-marked, but the sky was clear.
He remembered the prize pumpkin, the red inspection circle. It was never a target, just a promise he'd made to this soil.
In the distance, the Ridgeline Heights gate stood. A posted notice flapped in the wind. Easement under review.
One call to Bill, and that gate locks. Every resident learns who really owns the road they drive on.
But Charles didn't make the call. He wanted the HOA board to feel the dread of waiting, just like he had. For the first time since the tractors rolled, Charles Reeves wasn't the one under the gun. The countdown had reversed. At dawn, a co-op crew moved in. Orange barriers slammed down across the Ridgeline Heights gate. The metal arm locked.
Amanda's white Range Rover screeched to a halt. She stormed out, screaming at Deputy Matterson, "Move those barriers, now."
The deputy didn't flinch. Ma'am, this is a lawful easement revocation by the Agricultural Cooperative. There's nothing I can do.
Amanda's face purpled. She whirled on the workers, but they had already retreated beyond the barrier. This wasn't a request. Behind the gate, residents gathered in pajamas and robes, holding coffee mugs and confused anger. They were locked in.
Robert stepped forward, voice cracking. "Everyone, please, let's not make this worse. We need to talk to the co-op, not scream at each other."
But the crowd wasn't listening. They'd been told the HOA was in control, and now their own board had locked them out 200 yards down the road. Charles Reeves sat in his old pickup, watching the anarchy he had not started, but could certainly end.
He looked at the photo on his dashboard, his grandfather beside the first prize pumpkin. They shut me down without a word. Now they beg.
He didn't drive away. The gate stayed locked. And for the first time in weeks, Charles felt the cold weight of control inside the HOA clubhouse. Robert called an emergency vote. Amanda's face fell as the remaining members stripped her of her secretary position.
Robert turned to her, voice steady. "Amanda, we're authorizing me to negotiate with Charles. The board has decided."
Amanda's mouth opened, but no sound came. The woman who'd plowed under a tradition now had no voice left. 2 hours later, Charles's phone rang. It was Robert Langley. His voice cracked. "We need to talk. Charles, please."
Charles leaned against Bill's desk, Margaret beside him. "Fine, here is what I want. Restoration for my losses, and permanent protection for my land."
Bill nodded, tapping a pencil on the easement map. "We'll demand a perpetual agricultural exemption for your land, and a board resolution never to interfere again."
Margaret unfolded the original contract. The damages are clear. $7.2 million would cover the lost crop, the fair's losses, and ensure no repetition.
Charles picked up the folder. "Make it 7.2 million, and I'll let them use their own front gate again."
Margaret glanced at Bill. "That's more than fair, considering what they cost us all. The board will accept."
The terms that would reshape Ridgeline Heights were set. Charles didn't smile, but his pen was ready. Charles Reeves walked into the HOA clubhouse, Bill Dawson at his side. He placed a single sheet of paper on the table.
Robert picked it up, reading aloud. "Damages, $7.2 million. Perpetual agricultural exemption. Board resolution never to interfere."
Amanda shot to her feet. "This is extortion. You are holding an entire community hostage over some pumpkins."
Bill leaned forward. "It's negotiation. Your HOA's illegal order triggered a $40 million loss. This is generous."
The other board members looked at their insurance letter, then at Amanda. They had no good options.
Robert's voice was strained. "We'll need to discuss this privately. Please give us a few minutes."
Charles and Bill stepped into the hallway. Through the door's glass, Amanda paced like a caged animal.
Charles watched her. She still believed she could fight. She didn't understand what a century-old contract meant.
An hour later, Robert emerged, looking older. The board requests 7 days to deliberate before a final vote.
Charles nodded once. 7 days. Then the gate stays closed permanently. Amanda's face, visible over Robert's shoulder, crumpled. The HOA's attorney filed an emergency injunction. The judge's ruling was 2 sentences. The easement revocation is a valid exercise of property rights. Motion denied. At the gate, residents gathered again, this time holding signs. Not against Charles, against the board. Settle was scrawled in marker.
Amanda waved her arms. We can still fight. They can't do this to us.
The crowd didn't listen. Chants of settle drowned her out. The same community that once applauded her now wanted her gone.
Deputy Matterson stood by his cruiser, watching. Ma'am, they've made their choice. Might be time to listen.
Robert found a thick envelope on his doorstep the next morning. 50 signatures demanding the board accept the terms or face personal lawsuits.
He showed it to Amanda. They'll sue us personally, Amanda. We can't win. Not in court. Not here.
Amanda snatched it, crumpled it. Then what? We just give that farmer everything he wants?
Robert's voice broke. Yes. Or we lose everything. Our homes, our savings, our community. There's no third option.
The gate remained shut. The 7-day clock ticked, and the Ridgeline Heights HOA had run out of road. A young mother pushed a stroller up to the gate. She didn't shout, didn't wave a sign. Her voice trembled. She told Charles her daughter couldn't get to school, that she'd voted against the board, that she was innocent.
Charles knelt to meet her eye. I am sorry, but if I don't stop them now, they'll come for your backyard next. He pulled out the contract, pointing to the co-op clause. This protects my land forever, not just from rats, but from people who see only property lines.
The mother stared at the paper, then at Charles. She wasn't fighting a farmer. She was fighting generations of broken promises. She nodded, squeezing the stroller handle. Then make sure it never happens again. Robert Langley watched from the clubhouse window, his face tightening. Even the board's own families were turning.
Amanda muttered, "He's turning them against us, one mother at a time."
As Charles walked back to his truck, he touched his grandfather's photo in his pocket. The land will survive this too.
The gate remained locked. The deadline loomed, and Charles Reeves had shown everyone that some fences couldn't be plowed under. On the 6th day, Robert Langley called the final vote. His hand trembled as he raised it.
All in favor of accepting the settlement. 4 hands went up. Amanda stayed rigid on the table.
The motion carried. Charles Reeves was called back into the room. He stood at the head of the table. Robert signed the agreement with a shaking pen. The $7.2 million figure blurred under a tear.
Amanda shot up, her chair clattering. "You've ruined me. This community will never forgive you."
No one responded. The other board members filed out, shoulders slumped. Amanda was ignored.
Bill Dawson took the document, examined it, then stamped it with the co-op seal. It's done. He looked at Charles, then at Robert. The easement will be restored. Gates open at noon.
Charles looked at Amanda's empty chair. He felt nothing, just the weight of a promise kept.
The HOA's long nightmare was over. Charles Reeves had not just won, he'd forced them to promise never to forget. At noon, the orange barriers came down. The gate arm rose. Residents poured out, clapping, hugging, crying. In the clubhouse, Amanda Prentice packed her desk. A cardboard box held her nameplate and a wilting peace lily.
Robert paused at the door. "The board accepted your resignation. Effective immediately."
Amanda didn't look up. Of course they did. The box was sealed without another word.
The next morning, Charles walked into the bank. The teller's eyes widened at the check. He drove straight to the seed supplier and bought the best heirloom pumpkin seeds available. In his greenhouse, Charles placed his grandfather's photograph beside a tray of fresh soil.
He pushed the first seed into the earth. 1 year, Grandpa. 1 year to make it right.
Outside the greenhouse, the farmhouse stood silent, but inside, the first green shoots were coming. The Ridgeline Heights gate now had a new sign, one the co-op required. Agricultural land is not a nuisance. It's a legacy. Months passed. In the greenhouse, the pumpkins swelled daily. Charles measured with a tape, marking numbers on a board. By midsummer, it hit 1,500 pounds. By late the 2nd of August, 000, the old-timers said it was impossible. Margaret Holloway drove out from the fair office. She stood before the orange giant, speechless.
Charles, if this hits 2,400, it'll be the biggest pumpkin this state has ever seen. She touched its rind.
Charles wiped his hands on his jeans. It's not about the record. It's about showing up next year with something they can't ignore.
Word spread. A news van appeared at the farm gate. Linda O'Neill stepped out, microphone in hand.
We're here with Charles Reeves, whose pumpkin crop was destroyed last year in a now infamous HOA dispute. But look what's grown.
The camera panned to the pumpkin, now 2,200 pounds, and still swelling. Social media exploded with the hashtag #ComebackPumpkin.
This giant is being called the Comeback Pumpkin, and it could be the centerpiece of the revived state fair.
Charles stood beside it, not smiling, but the set of his jaw told everyone the weigh-in would be a reckoning. On weigh-in day, a flatbed truck crept through the fairground gates. The giant pumpkin, strapped and covered in canvas. A crane hoisted it over the scale, and the crowd held its breath. The scale flickered between numbers before settling on one impossible figure.
Margaret Holloway grabbed the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, the scale reads 2,470 pounds.
The crowd erupted. The comeback pumpkin had just become the heaviest ever recorded in the state.
Charles didn't cheer. He just looked at the pumpkin and thought about the red inspection circle that started it all.
Margaret's voice cracked with emotion. This pumpkin will be the centerpiece of the revived state fair. We're back.
News cameras captured every angle. Linda O'Neill reported live as the hashtag #ComebackPumpkin trended worldwide.
He touched the contract in his pocket. One piece of paper, 1 century-old promise, and a whole lot of dirt.
The fair board made it official. The fair would open on schedule, and Charles Reeves was its undisputed champion. The gates of the state fair swung open. Record crowds streamed in, many wearing homemade shirts. A boy's shirt read, "I believe in the comeback pumpkin." He tugged his mother toward the agriculture pavilion. Charles stood beside the 2,470-pound giant, shaking hands and posing for photos. The lines stretched across the midway. He signed autographs on napkins and fair programs, his weathered hands steady. Margaret Holloway stepped to a small podium beside the pumpkin, tapping the microphone for attention.
Charles Reeves, 4th-generation pumpkin grower and the man who saved our fair. We present you with the Defender of the Fair plaque.
Charles looked at the plaque, then at the pumpkin. He thought of the red inspection circle and the tractors that tried to erase it.
Linda O'Neill captured the moment, her voice thick with emotion as she broadcast live across the state.
Charles stepped to the microphone. This pumpkin is for everyone who lost something they loved. You can't plow under a legacy.
The crowd erupted. The comeback was complete, and the state fair had never felt more alive. As the pavilion emptied, Linda O'Neill found Charles alone by the pumpkin. She sat beside him.
Was it worth it, Charles? All the fighting, the lawsuits, the hate.
Charles unfolded the old contract, the creases deep from months folded in his jacket pocket.
This piece of paper saved a 100-year tradition. That's worth more than any settlement check.
He showed her a tattered photo of his grandfather beside a prize pumpkin.
Always keep your receipts, he told me. I thought he meant money. He meant proof of your legacy.
He pointed to the contract clause that had unlocked the easement, the one line that changed everything.
Without this, they'd have buried our family's work. Every farmer needs armor.
You didn't do it for revenge, did you?
The camera captured his weathered face, finally at peace. The old contract rested against the 2,470-pound giant. The last cotton candy was sold, and the fairgrounds emptied. But Charles Reeves wasn't done. Bill Dawson's familiar truck pulled up to the farmhouse, a thick envelope on the passenger seat.
Bill stepped out, grinning. It passed, Charles. The agricultural exemption is permanent. Signed, stamped, county record.
He handed over the official document, its seal embossed and unbreakable.
Charles traced the seal with his thumb. His fields were now untouchable by any homeowner board forever.
Bill clapped him on the shoulder. Your grandpa would be proud. You kept the land his way.
The two men shook hands, and then Bill drove off, leaving Charles alone on the porch. Charles walked to the edge of his land, where rows of new pumpkin vines stretched toward the horizon like a promise kept.
He thought of the red inspection circle, now just a memory. The soil had healed.
In the distance, the Ridgeline Heights sign still stood, but it meant nothing now. His farm was finally free. Spring came with a gentle rain, soaking the fields that had been barren 2 years before. In the greenhouse, he knelt beside a tray of soil, a single seed in his palm, the first of a new generation.
He thought of his grandfather's voice. Always keep your receipts. He pressed the seed into the earth.
Beside the tray, the old photograph leaned. His grandfather and the first prize pumpkin, a legacy in black and white. He covered the seed and watered it gently. A new beginning in the same soil that had seen destruction. Through the greenhouse glass, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the farm. The pumpkin vines outside were thickening. In the distance, the Ridgeline Heights sign was small, its gate open, its power over him broken forever.
Charles stood, wiping his hands on his jeans. One contract, one promise, and 4 generations of hard dirt.
He walked out onto the porch and looked at the land that had taken everything from him and given it all back. The contract was still in his jacket, folded and creased. It had been the key to everything. The next autumn, the state fair opened its gates again, bigger than ever. There was no canceled banner, no red arrows, only the hum of rides and the smell of kettle corn. And in the center of the agriculture pavilion, the comeback pumpkin sat on a bed of hay. A simple wooden sign read, "Grown by Charles Reeves, 4th generation." Charles stood beside it, older but unmistakably at peace, the contract still in his jacket. Children posed for photos, not knowing the whole story, only that this pumpkin had survived something. Linda O'Neill's camera crew was there, but for once, they didn't ask questions. The old farmer had said enough. His land was safe, his legacy sealed, and somewhere in the crowd, a boy tugged his father's sleeve and pointed. "That's the man," the boy said, "the one who kept his receipts." Then the fair rolled on, and the pumpkins grew,